The previous two oversized New Eternia Masterverse figures, Beastman and Too Bad, are still some of the best figures to come out of the Masterverse line. Well, as of today, we have a third oversized New Eternia Masterverse figure, that being Whiplash, and he is going to be the subject of today's Deceptibot 9 reviews to figure out if he is just as good as the other two. So, let's go ahead and whip it! How's it going, everyone? Deceptibot 9 here, and thank you, as always, for watching another episode of Deceptibot 9 Reviews. Now, before we get into the figure, I'd like to ask, if you like what you see, go ahead, leave a like. Plus, if you aren't already subscribed, go ahead, hit the subscribe button as well. It really means a lot to me, I promise it does. And if you want to find me anywhere else on the internet, all of my social links are in the description down below. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and head down to the review station to take a look at the Masterverse New Eternia Whiplash. Alright, and here we are with Whiplash, all down with everything that he comes with, and I gotta say right off the top, this guy is pretty cool. I think there's a lot of cool stuff going on with Whiplash here, and I'm really glad to finally have a version of Whiplash, because as we all know, the Wave 10 Origins version was incredibly difficult to find, so unfortunately I don't have the Origins Whiplash, but Masterverse is my prioritized He-Man line because I think it's just so good, and I think this guy came out great as well. So with all that said, let's go ahead and stop him from spinning around and take a closer look at the details on this guy. Alright, come up first here and start with that gnarly head sculpt. I think it looks really fantastic. I love the way it looks. You can see there in the eyes, we got paint all around and in them. Obviously the little red pupils there. Of course the white for the actual eye part itself with black around it to get the highlight of the eyeball itself, as well as like some war paint going on there, kind of scraping down. Looks like his mascara is running a little bit, but you get the gist. Moving down, of course, you can see just all the sort of other detail coming up on his face. Obviously, the teeth are all painted in white, but you can see the molded in nose, the lip folds, everything right there on the mouth is just tremendous. And he's got little, like, I don't know, little pimples or something going on in there, but it looks great. And of course, his little pointy ears. And if you remove the helmet, we'll talk about that again in a second. Yeah, you can see the detail up in there. He's got two little horns up on the top, eyebrows, and the spikes that go all the way across his head, fulfilling the whole Whiplash look, which is awesome. But yes, also he does have this beautiful looking helmet, which I absolutely love, done up in a dark gray with this purple mohawk piece there in the middle to, of course, go over his mohawk, and then big purple horns on the side look absolutely tremendous. Moving down, he's got this purple chest piece with some line detail going through it and some solid bolts or whatever those are, with some nice purple fray or faux, I guess, faux fur there on the side. Got a furry look to it there, and of course brown straps. I think this whole chest piece design looks great. As well as you can see underneath, he's got a dark green torso with a sort of scale and bumpy detail texture going on, as well as down here for the abs section. That texture continues down here with a little bit of molded abs. If you look over on the arms, he's got the lighter green skin color that is the same as his head, with of course a bunch of molded in spikes and scale details all over. Same down to the hands, scales and everything going down here with the individually molded fingers plus fingernails. They're not painted though. Blue arm guards here with some more of that faux fur detail on the side. If we look at the back, big beautiful back, he's got in that dark green color the same as his torso, because this is all one piece up here. More of this big spike detail with the bumpies and the scales all the way down to the tail. The tail does come unassembled in package. It just plugs right in. I don't know if it'll come back out, but it just plugs right in. So when you get it in package, plug that bad boy in. Yeah, we'll talk about the tail here for a second. I think there is a little bit of bendy wire in there because you are able to sort of the tail is slightly malleable is what I was trying to say there. So you can get it bending in a couple different positions, which is really nice. And it also does help him stand up. depending on the pose, just how you want to have it, it can help stand him up there. But yeah, the tail is super, super cool, and it's nice and hefty. I really, really like the tail. Coming back to the front, he, of course, has a loincloth guard here, nice gold belt with some stud detail there, and some detail here at this purple with the sort of the same texture design as the torso piece up here for the skirt. And if you look underneath it, he does just have a regular sort of typical Masterverse skirt down there done in a dark purple, and the legs here are done all up in the same sort of scale detail with the spikes that the arms and the head are done with. Moving down to the feet, he's got nice big boots with, of course, fur up here on the top and armor on the side. They're done in sort of the same kind of darker purplish color that is done throughout the rest of the figure up here. And his feet themselves do have scale detail and this nice claw detail with some black wash in it down there. So Whiplash, yeah, he is a very nice looking fellow. Let me scoot back. I am super, super pleased with how he came out. I think he looks really, really cool. It's a great design overall, too, to begin with. I'm always biased towards sort of lizard, dinosaur, creature characters. So, yeah, he definitely has an easy spot on the shelf, of course, because I have him. So, no, of course he does. But enough talk about detail. Let's go ahead and talk accessories, because as you saw in the turnaround, there's kind of a good amount. Alright, so here is everything that Whiplash comes with. We'll, of course, kind of go through them one by one. So first, he does come with an alternate pair of fists. So they're done up in that same scale detail as the rest of the body, and you can see that. And, of course, just like all the other Masterverse figures, if you want to switch those out, you just pull one wrist out and pop the other wrist in. So, of course, you can swap those all around however you like. As for weapons, that's all he comes with for swappable, like actual pieces. No alternate head sculpt or anything on this guy. The rest are all armor and weapons. So he does have his traditional Whiplash staff, so it's done up in all bright orange, which looks great. Just plain down here, a little bit of detail happening right here at the front. Not a lot of actual detail. It's just the way it's molded with the spike here at the top. And of course, you can slide it into either of the open hands, whichever way you want to put it. Give him his nice big spear, which looks great and silly, of course we love. Now, these ones are pretty cool. So first we'll talk about this axe here, which looks tremendous. I think this thing looks super, super cool. Big fan of axes usually, always. Not a lot of actual detail in it. It's just done up in this one silver color, but it's got a nice big long handle and a big blade. And if you want to throw that into his hand, just like that, of course, you can put that in the hand, and he looks great with that axe. Honestly, I really think I'm going to go with the axe look on him. I just think it suits him a little bit better than that big spear. And the other one that we saw, of course, is he's got this really cool torch piece with a flame effect on it. So the flame effect does slide off, so if you want him to just have the torch by itself, and this does have some nice detail in here. So it's open in the middle, obviously, because that's where like the kind of fire would come from. And then it's just all done in this silver grayish detail, but then the handle wrap actually gets to have some paint detail on it, which is very, very nice. And again, it'll just fit right into the hands, but of course, since it is painted, you might want to be wary that that paint might chip off with repeated putting in and out of the hand going on there. And you can, of course, put the fire on top, and that is a super cool look too. I do really like the way the torch looks in his hand, so I'm gonna have trouble deciding which weapons I want this guy to rock, because they're honestly all pretty cool. And if we move all those out of the way, we can, of course, talk about, as per usual, his armor, his new Eternia armor accessory. So as we saw with the helmet does remove, so you can take the helmet off. This chest piece here, of course, as per usual, is these typical Masterverse strap pieces. So once you get those pushed off, you do have to pull the head off to pull this whole assembly off. But once you pull that off, slap the head back on, then you can get, of course, under his tail here, and you can see in there, it's just the typical Masterverse strap in there as well. So if we move that torso out of the way, gets you easier access. You can pull that piece off, and with all those three armor pieces removed, you you have your just very classic looking Whiplash, which I still think looks tremendous, just like we saw recently with Clawful and Ram Man. I think these Masterverse figures are very, very good at capturing both aesthetics very, very well. And it's just really tough to choose with this latest wave of New Eternia, whether I want to do the New Eternia whole aesthetic on him or if I want to rock the classic, because they both look equally good in my eyes. But yeah, you can see kind of under the chest here a little bit more of the detail, the scales and everything, how that works. Mine does have a blue little splotch on the chest, not a big deal because I'll probably just rock the armor for the most part anyway. But yeah, Whiplash, super, super cool with all of that stuff on or off. So now let's go ahead, get all these out of the way. We'll leave them off for right now. We'll probably bring them back out for comparison. But let's go ahead and cover the articulation, because something that I wasn't expecting with the articulation on this guy is that it is modified slightly from the typical Masterverse articulation. The scheme itself is the same, but the way some of the joints work is slightly different just because of how they're molded, which I think is really interesting. So, of course, up here on the head, he does have a ball joint. You can get it rocking and rolling all the way. Let's do a little. So the head is on a ball joint, it gets it rock and rolling all the way around, and you can of course swivel it, turn it, looks down that far, looks up that far as well, and you can get it cranking side to side. That's all pretty much the same with the armor on or off and the helmet as well, so it stays pretty similar. Arms do go all the way around, arms go out that far, they swivel up here at the bicep. He does have the double elbow, so it gets going that far. All of the wrists do have swivel and hinge here as well. Then he of course has the upper ab cut, so this is where it gets slightly different because the upper ab piece is one piece with this part of the tail. So you can get it rocking and rolling and side to side, but it will be slightly blocked just due to how that part works. You can of course also turn it up at the top half as well, which I always love when it does that. He does also swivel at the waist right there all the way around. Legs go forward that far, they go backward that far as well too. Legs are really, really good on this guy. He goes out into the splits. Yeah. They can split a certain amount of distance. That's like an 8 out of 10 on the split scale, but his tail gets so in the way, you can't really do the splits at all. So Whiplash, definitely work on your tail getting out of the way there, bud. Legs swivel here at the thigh, and the legs now here at the knees. These are one of the points I was talking about too. The way they're molded, they are molded at an angle. So this is their straight position, is this bend right here, but they do have the double knee, so you can get the knees bent that far, which is still pretty good range when your leg only goes that straight. Here at the thigh, or the shin rather, he does have swivel there. Feet go up, down, and around just like that, like normal. So that's going to be about it for the articulation there on Whiplash. He is, and we mentioned the tail, of course. So you can, of course, move the tail around a little bit. You can turn it side to side like that, and it is bendy wire-ish on the inside, so use the tail to your advantage as you will. You can get a lot of cool stuff going out of there, and it can also help with balance, but you can also get him to stand occasionally without use of the tail. Just depends on your pose itself. So yeah, no, Whiplash is a lot of fun. I've been having so much fun. See, just like that, I've been having a lot of fun posing him around, and I think he is really, really solid for his posability. So let's go ahead now and see some comparisons. I'm going to throw the New Eternia stuff back on. Alright, here's Whiplash with our standard Masterverse figure, this being our latest New Eternia one to this point, Vicron. Here's Whiplash with your standard Origins figure. Again, I wish I had Origins Whiplash, but that wave was such a pain in the ass, so here's Snake Armor Skeletor instead. Here's Whiplash next to your standard 6-inch Classics figure. We got a Skeletor with a missing tooth here, so you can see how Whiplash may scale with your Classics. Here's Whiplash with Masterverse 2 Bad, so you can see how those two look. And for fun, here's Optimus Prime. Alright, so that's going to about do it for my closer look here at Masterverse Whiplash. So let's go ahead, I used whip in the beginning, so let's go ahead and lash our way back up to me for my final thoughts. Alright, so what are my final thoughts on Masterverse New Eternia Whiplash here? Well, I think he's fantastic. He is so much fun. There is so much nice sculpted detail work molded into this guy. The face looks great. All of the scale detail everywhere looks awesome. The tail is super, super cool. I really like how they did that. Comes with a plethora of accessories for a bunch of different display options between whether you want to go a full New Eternia look or a super traditional classics look. However you want this guy to fit on your shelf, he absolutely will. And despite some differences with molding when it comes to articulation, just up in the torso, because the tail part's molded to it and the way the legs are, he's still just as posable as any other Masterverse figure. And I can't wait to take some pictures of this guy with some other New Eternia figures because he is a whole lot of fun. I think this guy rocks. He's easily gonna make the tournament at the end of the year. I guarantee it. Alright guys, that's gonna do it for my full review of the Masters of the Universe Masterverse Oversize New Eternia Whiplash figure. Go ahead and let me know your thoughts on Whiplash down below. Are you gonna pick him up? Are you gonna skip him? Are you gonna wait for clearance? Is he gonna fit in your collection anywhere? All of that fun stuff. Let's talk all things Masterverse Whiplash down below. And guys, as always, that brings us to the end of another episode of Deceptibot 9 Reviews. I know, I'm so sorry, but there will be more soon. I've got lots of things coming soon, so stay tuned for all that. And guys, as always, I have been your host, Deceptibot 9. Thank you, as always, for joining me for another video review, and I will catch you guys later.